Well, hello. Welcome to the BetSports Golf Zozo Championship betting preview. I'm Ryan Noonan, joined by one of our Tom Kim handicappers last week. A nice swing season win for my boy Andy Motter. Andy, what's going on, bud?
Yeah, there was not only was it a sweat, but it was sweat during an NFL show. Like I do that show with Drew on Friday or Sunday nights, West Coast Golf. So it took forever to get to the end, and my God, yeah, it went tied into the 72nd hole with a top five golfer. Usually, where you win a tournament by three, but such is life. I enjoyed the Cantlay melt. That was pretty fun. I was just assuming we'd have a playoff.
For Cantley too, like who just typically,
He's never done that.
No, just to he's been hitting dry. He had driver because I watched a little bit of it too. I like that course. I like the tournament. We had some sweats going on. He's just been striping driver all day and then takes a three, which again, these guys typically even more accurate with the 3-wood than they are with the driver, and just absolutely amateur hours, duck hooks the three into the bush, into the desert. And it's left with no choice because of course Tom Kim does nothing but find fairways. So, he had to give himself a shot out there, and that was over quick. Finds the drink after butchering one. And, of course, in fine Cantley fashion, buries like a 35-foot putt, to save triple, but was not enough.
Yeah, that should have been an 8. Like, honestly, right. Both men hit some pretty nice putts. Both men obviously had really nice drives, really nice approaches. Seems like there was a reasonable birdie putt on like 16 holes for each guy. And they made some unreasonable ones too. So low scores, obviously that's what we were expecting. But we head from Sin City to the land of the rising sun. And this was a weird one too for you course history guys, just real quick before you just go throwing out like, hey, here's what they did this year and here's what they did that year. This one was COVID affected a little.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name of the course because it was a very forgettable course. Honestly, I didn't care for that iteration of it was a really scoreable course. It was kind of like last week, honestly, but this is back in Japan. It is at I'm not super comfortable. Narashino? Here, we'll go just
Accordia Golf, Narashino Country Club. Yeah, we had one year, the COVID year at Sherwood Country Club, which is not a super tough course. It's a swing season course, so it fit nicely. Yeah. So, this one's a little different. This is a very unique course for so many, and a unique event, which is I kind of like. Like we talked about this with Jeff during the normal season, where we like things being mixed up a little bit, where we had match play and we had some team golf. Unfortunately, I think they jammed those a little too close together. This bad boy is 78 guys, no cut. And then even like the dispersion of holes is really weird, where you have like a bunch of really small par threes, like stuff that we would play on, like 160 yards and shorter. And then you got a bunch of like either really short par fours or really long par fours. Like your normal distribution of like hole length and par fours is even wonky here too. And then you have like the multiple greens thing. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of just this is how we do it in America, and this is how courses are built. And like, everyone gets a little squirrely sometimes. Mrs. Dye says let's make an island hole, or let's get weird with some cliffs because we're in California. But for the most part, like this is where par fours are normally. This is the length we normally have. It's like when you get down to South Korea and there's that par 6. There's weird holes when you travel across the world. And yeah, it is a little goofy. It is the bent grass. Also, too, if you're watching this and you see some weirdness, they do have the double greens here. That's something you will see in various places, but it's basically so they can have golf, year round, where they can use some of the greens when it's colder, and then the bent grass greens that they're using now during the colder, rainy season, and then the other greens when it is warmer. But hey, Brian Kirshner, how you doing there, cutie? I see you were a Tom Kim winner this week too. But yes, double greens, but it is the bent grass they'll be using, and like Mr. Noonan said, it is a weird dispersion. There is 5 par 3s, not only 5 par 3s, but a lot of them are very short, like executive course level short. And then only 3 par 5s, a lot of dog legs. And it is not completely like Bryson proofed, even though he's not here. Like you could probably do a little bit of this, but for the most part, when it says tree lined, it is fucking tree lined.
It's tight.
It is like you are not taking shortcuts because the tree line is so close to your tee box that you can't get it up high enough to possibly shortcut some of these dog legs. So you do got to be accurate off the tee here. You do got to find these fairways. And yeah, it's not just, hey, there's a couple trees. It's like, now you're out in the damn woods if you miss badly here. So there's some very difficult second shots if you miss these fairways. There's some, like it says on the screen here, 6 dog legs, and it is, hazards as well, like in the landing areas. So it's a bit of a challenging course. And if the weather plays into a factor, it's like U.S. Open level scores is what you could expect. Like the winner could be 3-4 under if it gets real nasty with the weather. We'll see how that goes. It should be soft because it is rainy season, which will be nice for the greens, but at the same time, your balls aren't going to be rolling out. So it's going to play a little longer than the like roughly 7,100 that it is.
Yeah, it's hard to try to comp it to any really course because of the dispersion of holes too. So like if you want to, look at a typical par 70 track that's playing 7,100 yards or so, like it's just different. Like the buckets where the approach shots are coming from are going to be so different. You're going to have a lot of 175 to 200, and then you're going to have a bunch, even for shorter guys, that are going to be probably 125 and in. So you're going to have a lot of short wedges, and then a lot of guys that are hitting, longer irons and stuff into these greens. So, and because it's also no shot link data. So we don't have that. We have to go off of a little bit more of the traditional stats that we have. And again, this is really it's the third time. It's the 4th year for the event, but we said at the top, we're at Sherwood. So we also have Tiger winning this. And then we had Hideki last year. So we were sandwiched in the 1 year at Sherwood. So we don't have a lot that we typically do going into this type of event because we just don't have a large sample. And we don't have the stuff that we like to lean on from a strokes gain standpoint.
Yeah, and truthfully, without the strokes gain stats, you can kind of look and try to be a little subjective about that. And you have the greens and regulation stats, which is also, they're not counting fringes on that when you are getting the stats from, the actual source like that. So, and it's still high-ish, I guess. It's not going to be difficult if you're making your tee shots. But at the same time, you go look at these scoreboards and you can kind of take away a little hey, guess what? There's a bunch of really elite irons players that stayed near the top.
Right.
Approach is always important, but tee to green approach, proximity, I kind of wheedled out of using short iron proximity because honestly, everybody that I looked at who can probably compete, because it is a very good high-end field towards the top, they're all good from 100 to 125. There's nobody that's going to struggle. So I looked a little at the that 150 to 200 bucket. I know there are some people who just are better at that, who do hit those longer irons a lot better, that can differentiate themselves. Whereas a lot of these top guys, you give them a 100-yard shot into a soft green, they're all going to put it pretty close. So my main my build, or whatever you want to call it, if you want to get into that a little, was looking at just ball striking, longer irons, driving distance probably a little bit. If you are longer here and still accurate, you're going to have a good time because you're going to end up with some easy approach shots. So fairways gains, good drive gains, driving distance, and then in some of the stuff I'm doing, I weighted just overall par 3 scoring because you have not only you have an extra par 3, but they're easy par 3s.
Yeah.
So the guys that are able to find, a really good proximity off the tee box on these par 3s and take advantage of the scoring there, probably going to be able to shoot up the leaderboard a little.
Par 3 scoring, if you looked at Ron's preview, and shout out to Ron, by the way, too. Ron absolutely destroyed last week. He had a season of plus units. He won, Hoagie first round leader. He had Tom Kim as an outright. He crushed finishing positions, matchups, up 43 units for the week. Just an insane week for Ron. So kudos to him. He grinds his ass off. So I love seeing Ron crush like that. So
I don't believe in being due, but sometimes the variance is just going to get there. He had so many first round leader hits last year that got chopped.
I know.
And just took away the profits that could have been. Like he was due, because his first round leader stuff is very good. And again, if you want to check that out, it's all in the Discord. Every Wednesday afternoon, he puts together his first round leader model. He puts together a handful, usually 8 to 10 guys he's betting for smaller amounts. And when one hits, it hits hard, because it was Tom Hoagie 60-1, Tom Kim 30-1 to win. And then, like you said, he crushed 3-ball matchups, placing, everything, won like 40 units. So just $1 a month if you want to get in that members only Discord and see what Ron's betting. You can check Ron out too at 2 p.m. Central, talking with Byron about some DFS for this one. But we'll delve into what we're betting. Your card is pretty light so far, and I thought mine was going to be, and then it kind of got away from me.
Yeah, actually not intentionally light. I just haven't made a decision at the top. I took some shots down the board, but I would love to talk through a few things with you. I'd like some of the guys that you played too. And you did mention, like, again, this is a decent field. We have 7 of the top 20 in the official world golf rankings and 20 of the top 60 that are going to Japan here. And that's actually pretty decent when we look at what we typically see in the swing season. Of course, it's a no-cut event as well, which adds a different layer. And again, a 78-man field, so that makes finishing positions a little bit harder this week too. So I will probably build out a little bit longer of an outright card, because it's kind of just how I'll do it here. I'm not going to be, getting into the T40s and stuff like that, because we're going to be paying through the nose for these guys in a 78-man field. So let's take a look at the top. When you think of no cut events, you think of Xander. He typically fares fairly well here. Yeah. Again, obviously won the gold medal in the Olympics in Japan as well. So he's shown some success traveling here. The other thing too, not only is it 78 guys, but like the bottom of it is there's like 14 guys from the Asian tour. There's like a lot of Japanese golfers here. So even though there are technically 78, as far as who can actually contend here, it's a pretty small bucket of guys that we're taking a look at, which is kind of why I took a dive down the board to start, because I just think some of those numbers were wrong. But Xander's the shortest, no matter where you're at. We also have Sungjae here, Hideki defending, Cam Young here as well. Colin Morikawa is pretty short, and then Tom Kim as well. And then Victor Hovland. These are pretty much your guys that are, depending on your book, around 20 or shorter. Obviously, Decky makes a lot of sense going back there. Plays pretty well here, obviously coming back to defend that title. Have you considered anyone at the top of the board?
I worry about Hideki still. Like, that neck thing has been just ongoing. Like, it's he's fine. Oh, it's a different neck injury. I don't know if he's starting to fall apart a little on me. But I avoided him just based on price and that. And I did avoid. I had. It's funny. I did not bet Xander to win the gold medal, but I bet American to win the gold medal, because I thought the amount of win equity and just the amount of the market that Colin should have had, that number was a little off, and ended up getting home on the back of a different guy. But such is life. It was fun. I missed the Olympics already. I did bet Sungjae. I don't normally bet guys this close to the top of the board, nor do I bet them for this much. I put more on this. I usually go half units on anything, and then once you hit 100-1, I'll go quarter. I did 3/4 just because it is. I have him as the favorite. I think he should be ahead of everyone. Like, it's just a guy I've always liked. I've usually not been able to bet him just at the spots he's been in. I feel like he should be on my card more often, but his form is so electric right now. It's just like, what are you going to do with this guy? He had a poor finish at the Open. I'm not sure that style course is super conducive to Sungjae anyway, but since then, his past 6 events, his worst finish was 15th. With 3 runner-ups in that. So he's been bridesmaid, silver medalist 3 times in the last 6 events. Just elite tee degree guy. Like, he possesses the accuracy I think I need. And again, I hate betting these short numbers. I'll be happy if he gets home, but I make Sungjae the favorite here. I think this should be 8. So happily took an ugly price. This is the best I could find too. There's some places that are under 10 on him now. So I found an 11, which made me happy. I should shop a little, see if I can add some more if I drive to Iowa.
Yeah, 11 looks like the best number. There are some 9s. DraftKings is 9. PointsBet is 9. Even Circa is below 10 So bet Chris 9.5. So yeah, you got a good spot. Yeah, there's just no holes in the game, and the form is immaculate. Like you said, I just don't know. There's no reason to not like Sungjae here. So no problem with that. He's definitely on the short list for me at the top, because I think I'll definitely add someone in this under 20 bucket, because I just think the win equity that these guys have in a field like this, because it is just like you said, there's some decent guys at the top, but like the bucket at the bottom is bad. I just feel like getting these guys around that price makes a ton of sense. So Sungjae makes a lot of sense. No problem there.
Even like last week, like there was a case to be made that like Cantlay's price was off.
Yeah.
He's just that good in that field. It's like, I thought about it for a sec. Couldn't do it, obviously. Would have been feeling better down the stretch if we had that. But there was a couple guys I missed on last week that I wish I had. One, or maybe not after the tournament, obviously, but right in that third round, it's like, man, this was a guy I highlighted. So I'm going to try to maybe avoid that this week and bet everybody I like.
That was my Tom Kim thing last week. I was waiting for Tom Kim or Aaron Wise to add late. Did not add either of them. And then, watched you guys celebrate the champagne, taking your shirts off. It was a lot. I'm sitting here on the sideline holding my Tom Hoagie. No first round leader on Hoagie, just the outright on Hoagie. So yeah, not great. So yeah,
Hoagie played well too. Like
he
that should have been God, who was it? My friend Dwayne. I can't remember who the other one was. It if it was Hoagie and someone else. He bet 2 top 5s and hit them both. Like that might be harder than hitting it outright.
Like, top 5 is hard.
Hitting 2, well, hitting 1 is whatever, but hitting 2, that the big numbers. So he had I think maybe his Nesmith, but yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about one of yours, because you're further down the board. I don't have a ton to say on my middle of the pack guys.
Well, I like one of the middle of the pack guy that I sat on for a while yesterday, and I'm still considering it. That I like a lot is Mito. Mito is going to be popping in, I think, some short-term stuff, some longer-term stuff. You think about what we are projecting to matter here. He is outstanding. I mean, last 36 rounds, first in this field in approach, first in good drives, which we know matters. Not a big guy in distance, but he's fine in this field. He's above average. So, but if you can still find fairways, just everything, tee to green, he's good around the green. So we have seen the greens that we're going to be on this week are a little bit smaller than the greens that they're not playing. So we see green and regulation a little bit lower here than tour average. So we might need scrambling a little bit. And Mito is terrific there too. So handles the long par 5s or par 4s well. There's a lot to like about Mito. 35s are the shortest that I'm seeing, and that's kind of where you got around 36, right?
Yeah, and Mito was someone I thought about betting last week. Regretted it a little. I could have used him more in matchups and placings, but I like him a lot here. He's just a guy I've bet on a lot. I'm back in bed with him. He's one of the better ball strikers in the whole damn field. He leads the field over the last 50 rounds in good drives gained. And like I said, there's 5 par 3s. When I went and sussed out who has been scoring on par 3s consistently, he was very much near the top. So I love him at 35 to 1 or better.
Yeah, I like that look a lot. Still flirting with Cam Davis. I've been on Cam, I think at the Fortinet. I think it was on Cam last week as well. 42s are out there on Cam, which is very interesting to me. Again, he kind of pops in some stuff too that I think matters. He's a distance. If we think that is going to matter, that works well for him. The proximity bucket that you were talking about, I have him top 10 over the last 36 rounds. He's really good on the short par 4s as well. Just gives himself a ton of birdie looks. Approach is solid. There's not a lot to poke holes in with Cam Davis. So it's just another guy that he's a little bit older than some of the guys that if you want to think about like who's going to ascend this year. And again, he got on the board last year, but it's just a guy I want to continue to buy into and like him in weak fields. Just not a lot of holes in the game. I think he's just improving. The only issue here with Cam Davis is he can sometimes spray it off the tee. So if he's got to be dialed in, like he was at the President's Cup, he was dialed in off the tee. So if he has that, I think he can contend really good short iron player too. So he's a guy I'm flirting with down here that I have not fired. That's kind of in that Mito range. So I'm probably going to hit one of the two of those.
Yeah, I should look where I have him. I'm sure he was another guy that I looked at last week as well. Yeah, he's up there for sure. I mean, it's tough with so many of the top names near the top because they should be like, you can't discount Colin or Tom Kim, Xander, Sungjae. It's like they're the names. Even Hovland, who I have Hovland. I'm lower on Hovland than the market is right now. His world ranking is 11th, but I don't certainly have him as the 11th best golfer in the world right now. So little lower on him than the market seems to be. We'll see. Maybe I'm dead wrong on that. We'll find out, because usually when that's the case, it means I'm going to be betting against him in some matchups when they put him up against, just other golfers that are close to him. I'm guessing Hovland matchups. Let's look right now for the matchups that are up. There's a Morikawa matchup. Hovland's a dog there, and there's a Cam Young one where he's also a dog.
I think that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, those prices are actually pretty close. I probably won't fire. That might be some daily stuff, because I'll have 4 days with anybody I'm willing to bet on or anybody I'm willing to fade. That's the thing that drives me nuts, is when I just crush a guy. Like, I nail it. Like, the market's too high or too low on this guy, and I nail it, and then I can only bet on him for 2 days because of the cut line or something like that. So,
yeah, you'll get 4 rounds.
Everybody is around all weekend. And speaking of around all weekend, Corey Connors, another guy I've bet probably too much in my lifetime that I'm fine betting on. But again, he is probably the best ball striker in the field when he's on, especially if you just go by the raw numbers over the past, decent sample size. And he's pretty much at the top of my list for accuracy of the guys who hit the ball at least average. There are some of these guys who are short hitters that are a lot more accurate. And sometimes I think that comes down to club selection as well. But he's an average to slightly above average distance guy who has high levels of accuracy. That's what I want here. And he was someone who, and it was several years ago, and I know a lot can change in several years. Just ask Ricky Fowler. But back in 2019, he was 6th here. Like, he's played well on this course in the past. I'm not using that to put me over the top on anybody, but I think he should be closer to 30.
Never hurts, right? The other thing too, like, we're in Japan, so this is actually, we're gonna have primetime golf. So this isn't a Thursday; it's Thursday morning local time, but this is teeing off Wednesday night too. So like, that's probably more important for DFS for the most part. You'll probably have most of your bets booked by then. But like, if you're hoping to wake up and get some bets down on Thursday morning, everyone's in the house. They've already played round 1. You missed the boat because there's only 78 guys too. So there's not even like an AM PM wave really. It's just kind of like everyone's going out.
I was kind of spoiled by that on this West Coast golf. Like, a couple times, like, I don't have time to run numbers tonight. I'll do it in the morning.
I love
that. It's not epic. Yeah, this is well, but of course this is one of those too where I can do it in like the middle of the afternoon. I can run numbers for the guys.
Yeah, so watch out for that. We're looking at 8, 9 p.m. depending on where you live. Tea time on Wednesday night. These guys get started. So, yeah.
AD's asking about Bo Hosler.
The
How much Bo Hosler are we crushing? I don't know where you have him.
I do not currently have any Bo Hosler crush, but I'm not above Bo Hosler. Good week last week. Trying to find him.
My stuff traditionally hates Bo Hosler. Cam Champ is a dog in a full tournament matchup. Against Bo Hosler. I don't know. I'll have to have ADY explain if he likes him. I can never tell if he likes him or not. Because are we crushing him as in betting on him, or crushing him betting against him?
I mean, we should probably be crushing betting against him. Really, outside of the Fortinet where he played pretty well, we've been pretty bad. Other than he obviously can run super hot with the putter, but the rest of it is not very enticing. I have Bo Hosler, pretty far down over the last 24, 36, 50 rounds here. It's not. Hopefully, crushing he means attacking in matchups.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a place too where somebody just gets hot with the putter and wins this tournament.
No,
you do have to do a lot of other things right here. So it's not. We're not in Detroit, guys. Detroit and Tokyo, very different.
Very different.
They both make cars. Let's talk about a guy you did bet already. Fake Austrian. Our guy won. He's got win equity now.
So this one was weird for me. This is not a guy. I typically have a bucket of guys. I don't go off script a lot. I like guys that I like, but just sometimes I want to, especially flipping the page for a new season. Want to be open to new things. And when I'm looking at Sepp Straka's recent form, it's pretty freaking good. And he is a massive form guy historically. If you look at when he plays well, he strings together really nice rounds, and then he'll string together literally what he did heading into the St. Jude, 6 cuts in a row. But since then, the St. Jude is when it all kind of flipped. Again, Georgia kid, likes the Zoysia grass, which we had at St. Jude. We also had the Tour Championship. He went second at FedEx, as we know. He almost knocked off our boy Willie Z there. Made his way into the BMW T28 there, played himself into the Tour Championship where he played really well. Gaining on approach in all of those in a pretty big way. The putter can get pretty hot. He does like this type of grass on the putting surfaces as well. And then carried it over the first time we've seen him in the swing season. He almost won at Sanderson Farms. Second as well, putted lights out. But again, approach, tee to green, everything was pretty immaculate. So I'm hoping that Sepp is just still kind of on a heater. And, 50 was a really nice number, thinking that he is in form and likes this surface. So I thought that was a pretty bad number for Sepp, considering his recent form.
Yeah, I'm half-assed a Sepp guy sometimes. We did kind of skip over him too, and this was, he was the man of 2021. It feels like at times, and I cashed on him at one of the majors there. But Bobby Heinrich here says, "How do we feel about Morikawa? Solid at the President's Cup, yeah. Ball striker, yeah. Good irons when they're on. 7th here in 2021, half Japanese. He did talk about how much he loves coming here, eating the food. Says, the family name originated in Japan. Think 16-1 might be play. Yeah, I've seen some 14s out there. If you can get a 16, I'm pretty close. Like when I evaluated it, I said that price is pretty much on. So I don't think you're making a bad bet. I just didn't see a ton of value, and I didn't want to add a second guy like again, if he's matched up against some other people near the top that I think are overvalued, I'll probably be playing Morikawa in matchups. I like him. I just didn't add him to the card.
I like him too. Obviously, you're running anything long-term that's, ball striking, you're going to get Morikawa in a big, big way. I don't see any 16s anymore. I'm seeing basically domestics are 14 across the board. There's 15 at Circa, and that's about it. So, yeah, you're still getting a little too short for me. But, yeah, it's Colin Morikawa. One of the best, elite drivers. You think of Sungjae again is another guy. Like Andy has at the top. Xander probably works there too. Cantley, who we talked about. These are elite guys that are also just fairway finders, but they don't lack in distance as well. And obviously Morikawa is that dude. So don't hate it at all. I just don't love the number, which is kind of the part of the problem. But again, if you think he's going to win, who cares if it's 14, right? He's,
it's like me getting Tom Kim a terrible number.
Yeah, if you think he's going to win, you play him at 14 or not. So yeah, no problem with Morikawa. Kind of agree with Andy. Probably a guy to use in matchups versus a guy to attack in matchups. So Ron hit Tommy Fleetwood. I know our buddy Jeff Feinberg also on Tommy Fleetwood, shocking no one. But Fleetwood's 35. It's down to 25 in some spots. This is a little steep for me. The other guy that I bet is Sahith Theegala at 50. Again, it was literally a numbered grab. I looked at that and I'm like, this is a short field. Another guy that I think long-term want to just kind of buy into with the pedigree, great college player, popped a few times. He is so streaky. There's nothing in the modeling standpoint that is going to be like, oh yeah, I love this about Sahith. It's just sometimes he is one of the best 5 guys in the field. And you're like, how does this guy not compete every week? And then a short 78-man field, I think Sahith should be, probably in the 30s, which is kind of where he started to move, 33 at FanDuel. There's some 40s, 35s out there, but 50 on Sahith was too short for me. First look Monday morning.
Yeah, he's someone I looked at. And like you said, if you just look at raw numbers, he's not going to pop.
Never.
But he is one of those guys where it's just high variance. Hey, when he can run like the sun, and it's not a bad course for him at all. So I don't hate that at all. And then, yeah, that's all that's left for me is some longer ones. This one I thought was going to be shorter. I honestly thought I was going to have to bet a 66. But Matthew
nice number.
Matthew Nesmith, Somebody, again, I thought I was going to have to bet. When I found a 74 bookmaker, I was pretty happy about that. And it is, even at 66, it was going to be a price play, but just another guy with nice short-term form, obviously a much tougher field than what he's been playing in, but he gained 6+ strokes on approach the past 2 weeks, and he just has fairly elite numbers when it comes to that 150 to 200 yard proximity bucket, whereas he's having to hit some of these longer approach shots into these soft greens. I think he's going to have a high level of success to be able to score and compete. And pert near 75 to 1, I'll take a shot on him.
Yeah, I like that number. That's, pretty wide out there in the market when you're looking at like FanDuel at 45 and DraftKings at 70. Someone's way off there for sure. They probably both are a little bit, to be honest. So he probably should be closer to the middle of that. And, 74, 75 is a fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I said. I thought it was going to be a 66 because it just felt like that was where everyone was going to price them. But that's why you have 10 books, guys. Go shop around. You're always going to find one good number. And I mean, same thing with my bomb. My bomb is Adam Long, which is a maybe ironic name considering his driving distance, but he's 100 to 125 in a lot of places. But I found multiple books where he's 175, and it is a bomb, but it's a small field. It's not a, one bad round isn't going to knock you out. You don't have to like punt on Friday. You can play for it. You got 3 rounds to get it back. In a non-cut event like this, and he's just a guy. He's accurate off the tee. He's actually a great scrambler. We didn't talk scrambling much, but that will come into play a little here if you are missing. We've seen some decent scrambling numbers from guys who've placed well here, and he did play decent here last year. And if he can get the scoring going, he's for sure live. It's just way too big. I thought this should be like 90 to 1.
It's where it's at in some other spots. Well, hundreds for the most part. So yeah, the 175 is definitely an outlier, and worth a look, because it's also like when you even think about the original, right? When Tiger won at 19, Tiger went low and won at 19 under, but there weren't many guys that were even double digit under in that one. Like Tiger kind of dominated that. And you mentioned like the weather can play a factor here. Like this isn't what we saw last week. This isn't like Sanderson. Like we're probably not getting a birdie fest into like the low 20s here. So to your point with an Adam Long, like he's better off in an event where we're probably not going super low and you can have a bad round. And because it's a no cut event, if that happens on Thursday or Friday, you're fine. You're still in it. Assuming one of these guys at the top doesn't absolutely run away. So no problem with chasing some of those guys down there too. Like Svensson is a guy that I'm considering way down low.
I was just going to ask if you had any more looks at some of the deep bombs, because there's some big numbers on guy. And again, it's a good field. It's a smaller field though. And like you said, we don't think the scoring is going to be 20. So, I mean, there's big numbers on people that have competed of late. Even Steven Yeager, Adam Svensson, Cameron Champ has won multiple times on tour. Again, it's not going to be a birdie fest or a putting contest where he's been able to be successful. But I mean, these are all guys who've been near the tops of leaderboards fairly recently and have massive numbers. Like I get not betting on some of these Japanese tour players, but there's definitely maybe some value in between the 100 to 200 range if you look around.
Yeah, there's a few. There's some other guys that are a little bit above that I wouldn't say are bombs, or guys that we like that definitely fit the mode. And I feel like Grillo makes a lot of sense again.
I'm so close, almost.
And Tom Hoagie, again, like we want fairways and iron play. Like this is what he did last week. And we got lucky for him because like kind of the play last week and the thesis behind it was like, all right, we know what we think is sticky. He does really well, right? What was going to matter last week is putting yourself in position and approach. We got hot with the putter, which is not what Hoagie always does. But this is the same thing here. Same premise is like fairway finders, great on approach, can scramble occasionally. Like, I don't know, Hoagie again feels like a great play. And it's like 46 is the best I'm seeing out there at Circa, 40 on DraftKings. It's getting a little short, but like, man, Hoagie makes a lot of sense in that same bucket of the guys that are out there a little shorter than 50. So trying to decide. I'm frozen right now, but like I'm going to add a few of these guys. Nesmith again at 70 is jumping off the page, like you said. But there's a lot of dudes. I mean, Brandon Steele tee to green, has been awesome for like 6 months and played really well here last year. Got added to this field late.
He's one I have highlighted.
That's
what stinks about like top 40 prices are going to be horrible because
I know.
But I think there's a case to be made on a few of these guys for top 20. So I will probably, I don't usually do this, but I'll probably have a couple looks in some top 20s. I'm going to talk to my top 20 guys who just are better at that than me. It's not something I've ever done well. So
yeah, that's
maybe I need to just dance with who brung me.
Not bad price wise when you get down there to some of these guys, you know, like Grillo 175 to top 20. Yeah, some of these other guys we were talking about that are still in there. Nesmith, 2-1. So there's some decent numbers out there for some of these guys if you don't want to go super deep or super long on an outright card. And then matchups. I'll be interested to see what the books start to offer matchup wise of some of these names down the board because again, it is kind of a unique field. So, all right, good stuff as always. BetSportsGolf.com. $1 for the rest of 2022 gets you access to subscriber only Discord, all the articles, all the tools. Really excited about the project that we've been talking about working on. We have the golf, statistical database on the site for you to play around with now for free. Version 2 is coming. Version 2 is going to be a difference maker in the space. We're really excited about it. So coming down there again for $1, check it out.
Yes, you know what, CJ Cup, we'll put version 1 up on the screen a little. We'll talk about it for like 1 or 2 minutes and talk about what's coming. Yeah. Kind of give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview because hopefully late November, early December, we're rolling out a pretty badass tool. And again, betsportsgolf.com. If you want to see everything we're betting, all my matchups, all of Ryan's place bets, all of everything Ron bets. He loves to bet every single market. That guy is going to be doing top 10s, 20s for all the placings. He's going to be doing 3 balls throughout the tournament. He's going to do pre-tournament matchups, first round leaders, definitely your outrights. He's got a bunch of outrights he's fired on already. Check that out in the members only Discord, betsportsgolf.com. And for me and Ryan, we'll catch you here next week for what I thought was this week, the CJ Cup. See you guys.